All right, hope everyone's doing well. House of Payne fans, we're here to talk about Season 9, Episode 20, entitled, If You Loved Me. So, before going forward in the video, please take a moment to hit the like button, hit subscribe, click the bell notification icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post new content to the channel. And follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. No idea what's going on outside right now. But in any case, this episode, it had its moments. There were moments where I legit was laughing. I think my favorite moment of the episode was when Curtis was behind the couch. He reached over and pulled Caleb backwards behind the couch and then put him in a headlock. That was actually pretty good. But here was my problem with the episode. And let me just run down what happened in the episode first, because I feel like it was split into two parts that were repetitive as hell. So Calvin knows that there's a boy hiding behind a counter. Jasmine's acting like there isn't somebody back there. Then Calvin threatens to come back there himself. Caleb pops back up and then it's like, oh, I just came over to say hi to you. And he's like, you know what? BS. I'm going to call CJ. And then Jasmine tries to calm the situation down, like tries to give him back the $15. And basically he's like, fine, I won't call your parents as long as you tell me what's going on. Why is he here? Long story short, look, there was a lot of back and forth, but long story short, Caleb eventually explains that he followed Jasmine over to the house. Turns out that Caleb is 17 and Calvin is 38. Caleb being 17, I don't have a problem with. He said he's going to be 18, so that makes sense. But Calvin being 38? 38? Huh? Or did he say 28? I heard 38. Calvin's really 38? Hang on, let me see how old Lance Gross is. He was born in 81. He's 39, so his birthday is July 8th. This season was filmed. When the hell was this season filmed? I forgot. He's 39. I mean, whatever. You know what? I'm not going to do that. Nope, not today. Maybe that's another video I'll do in the near future, but I know he was in college for a long time. Okay, that does make sense. All right, let's get. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ramble, but I read my notes and it didn't hit me, but 38 was just like, wait, what? But in any case, Calvin and Caleb kind of bond over the fact that, yo, I used to be just like you. You know, sneaking up, finding out when girls' parents weren't home, sneaking over and this and that. And it turned out to be a trap because it turns out Caleb has done this plenty of times. And Jasmine like saying, okay, really? How many girls? Like, man, baby, there was a lot of girls before you. Don't worry about it. So basically, he was literally admitting to the fact that he's done this a lot, which goes in hand with the video I did recently about, is Caleb a hit it and quit it kind of guy? Turns out he is. And bit my tongue. And the reason that Calvin pretty much, baited him into saying this stuff is to show Jasmine who Caleb really is. And the thing about it is, Jasmine didn't do anything wrong. I mean, look, I will get to Ella and Curtis in a second, but at the same time, it's like this episode reminded me of the haves and the have-nots in my review last night, where if the situations could have been resolved or squashed quickly if one person would have just told the whole story. Like, basically, Jasmine was waiting for the package, assumed it was the delivery boy, told them to come in. It was Caleb, and he was the one trying to pressure her. That's honestly all she had to say. I mean, if nothing else, the only thing she did wrong was what Ella mentioned later on about how you should know to get up, check who's behind the door before you let them in, which I feel is a massive contradiction in this show because, first of all, nobody in this series knows how to lock a damn door. How many times have people just walked into people's houses? Now, I understand it's like, well, Ella or Curtis or CJ or somebody walking into each other's house, their family or whatever. Well, I mean, look at last night's episode of The Haves and the Have-Nots when it came to Celine just barging on in after, Veronica unlocked the door. You see what I mean there. So, in any case, as soon as Jasmine's like, he wanted me to have sex with him, that's when Curtis and Ella rolled in, and then Calvin left. And it turns out that the reservations weren't made in Savannah, so they had to turn around and come back early. And then as soon as Calvin leaves, like, you know what, these two can explain, I'm out of here. I rolled my eyes because I'm like, okay, instead of Calvin just staying there for 30 seconds to explain what happened, now we're going to have to go through the exact same scenario once again, where instead of one character just simply saying what's going on, it's going to turn into a game of violence in terms of who's going to be able to wrinkle Caleb's clothes the most. All right, so Curtis, I did love when he like got behind the couch and dragged him, and it was actually sweet that Curtis still sees Jasmine as a little Jazzy. You trying to have sex with little Jazzy? No, she ain't ready to have sex till she's 40. All right, well, basically, yeah, that's when Ella's like, you should check the door behind. I'm like, what? If nothing else, realistically, that's the only thing Jasmine did that was wrong. But she actually didn't do anything. It was all Caleb, because to his credit, he did try to say that, hey, she didn't do anything wrong. I was the one that came over. I was the one that followed her. I was the one that was trying to pressure her to have sex. And then when Jasmine was like, well, he said, yeah, I kept saying no. Okay, and then what did he say after you said no? If you love me, you do it. And then that's when Curtis was going to take Caleb to the backyard, but then he ran to the backyard, and then Curtis went after him. But it's unknown if Curtis is going to do anything because Caleb probably unlocked the fence and got out. So it's hard to tell, what happened. But Ella's like, as soon as your uncle is done dealing with Caleb, he's going to come back in, and I'm going to talk to you two for a while. Because no means no. And then when he's like, is he pressuring you? It's like, somewhat. And then I'm like, Jasmine, for real. This is like the Rihanna situation in the haves and the have-nots, where her, I guess, supervisor or boss was talking about the Sandy situation. It's like, I'm fine, don't worry. But it's like, this is the part. Oh, I'm sorry. I know I don't mean to sound gross, but it was like a spit bubble was forming in my throat when I was talking. Blah. Hate that. In any case, I feel like I think what really gets me mad about this situation is the fact that we're just forgetting the fact that Caleb was pressuring her into using the vape pen. And then when she finally used it, she said, I don't like it anymore. So that was the end of that. But I feel like the same thing could be happening when it comes to the sex. Like, she's saying no, she's saying she's not ready. But I feel eventually Caleb would have gotten to the point where he would have gotten what he wanted. But the question is, what will Jasmine do now that she knows that Caleb has done this sort of thing before, where he follows these girls, figures out when their parents aren't going to be home, and then goes after them? I mean, it could come down to, with his dad being a pastor, maybe he goes after the young girls at the church and whatnot, because through his father, he's able to tell when, oh, so-and-so is going to be at Bible study, so-and-so is going to be at the choir rehearsal, so-and-so is going to be at the revival. So, well, Lacey's going to be at home alone on Tuesday. Sarah might be alone on Friday, that kind of thing. So it's just a matter of, I'm glad that Jasmine's sticking to her principles, but kind of like Andy on Sisters, if you don't open your eyes and just let go of this toxic dude, it's just going to be a waste. So this episode had a couple of good moments, but I would probably say I would give it a 4 out of 10, just because even though I did get a few laughs here and there, I felt like it really suffered from that repetitiveness of Tyler Perry writing, where the first half of the episode, once again, was reduced to 10 minutes of nonsense when it could have just been stated what was going on, even though I did like the Calvin scenes. But then as soon as Calvin left, I'm like, damn, here we go again. We got to deal with Curtis being over the top, Ella being overly sanctified, and it's like, I don't know. And not to mention, were they not going to mention? I mean, I thought Curtis would have at least said, first he gives us these drugs that make us high, which I thought would have been funny, even though they did the drugs themselves. Is like, first we get high off his supply, and now you trying to have sex with my little Jasmine? You would have thought that would have been brought up, but it wasn't. So, I don't want to harp on this too much, but I think that both House of Payne and Assisted Living were a bit meh this week, because I just recorded my review of Assisted Living. I gave that episode a 5 out of 10 just because, I thought it was a decent one. But let me know your thoughts. Am I being too harsh on the episode? I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Caleb as a character, but I feel like the episodes he's in, there's just a lot of repetitiveness, and I really do feel like they aren't really doing good with the story. I know next week we finally get Lisa back. Remember her? Remember Lisa? But I did actually like it at the beginning of the episode where, Caleb is kind of, stumbling over his words to Calvin. It's like, you know what, you're getting, and Jasmine is like, you know what, you're getting less and less attractive, as this scene goes on. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, I'll give this a 4 out of 10. I think last week was, I feel like last week was the better episode, but that's just my opinion. Let's get the comments section blowing up with a conversation. Make sure you like and subscribe. Shout out to the Patreon members. You can join Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or if you want to donate to the channel directly, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App. As always, I appreciate the support. Thank you all so much, and I will catch you all in the next video.